I've sat with him, I met with him. I sincerely know how difficult it is to put yourself on the national stage. I wish him and his family the best. But number one, I know and worry about the outcome of this election. That he and others have said clearly they will not honor the outcome of this election unless, of course, Donald Trump wins. And then as far as a lot of his extreme views, in many ways, I'm grateful because this lays plain for the American people that this is an election which is a clear choice about abortion and access to abortion care. It's a clear choice about Social Security with his voice on what he wants to do to that. So many things. This is an extreme candidate that has clear views. It's a clear choice, and I hope America can see that now.
Senator Booker, it's Lawrence O'Donnell. Outside the Moynihan Courthouse today, when the verdict was returned, the U.S. Attorney said that this finally puts an end to what he called the years of corruption by Senator Menendez. And in the sweep of that statement, it certainly sounded like he was referring to and including the first federal criminal prosecution of Senator Menendez, which ended in a hung jury. Do you regret immediately championing Bob Menendez upon getting that hung jury 7 years ago?
It was a hung jury. One juror would not render a not guilty verdict. Look, Lawrence, this is reprehensible behavior that he's been convicted of. These 16 counts involve not only honest theft of services, but doing things for foreign governments that should chill a lot of folks for what he's been convicted of. This is enough. He should step down. He needs to step down right now. And there are so many New Jerseyans who believed in him, millions who have voted for him, that this is a dark and painful day. He was convicted by this jury. That's what's, I think, hurting a lot of us right now. And the charges are extraordinarily painful.
Senator, just to follow up on it, as you know, the Senate Ethics Committee did find in that first criminal case against him, after they read the full court transcript and examined all the exhibits, the Senate Ethics Committee found that Senator Menendez, 7 years ago, violated Senate rules and related statutes, which means the committee found that he broke laws. Wasn't that the time to expel Senator Menendez?
The Senate Ethics Committee did not recommend expulsion. They wrote probably the most severe rebuke that I know of. And to me, that was a time that all of us should have thought twice. But then you know this. Senator Menendez was duly reelected by the people who had all of those facts. A multimillionaire used most of his election putting that forward. What's happened now, though, is to me the time where we all should be unified, Republicans and Democrats, simply saying enough is enough. He needs to step down.
Senator Cory Booker, thank you for joining us, sir. Appreciate it. We know this is sort of a news day of another magnitude than a typical day, sir. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Senator Cory Booker from New Jersey. Talk about a day in the middle of what's going on there. But it is this contrast with the way the Republican Party and the Democratic Party are dealing with a criminal conviction here is it feels quite pregnant.
I mean, to me, it's deeper than reaction to convictions. It actually speaks to some of the worst case scenarios to game out of a second Trump term, which is how the Department of Justice functions. I mean, this Department of Justice is functioning at an arm's length from the White House, which has been the norm established both in statute and in practice since Watergate. There's no universe in which Joe Biden will call up Merrick Garland and be like, what the hell are you doing? You're indicting a Democratic senator?
I've got a one-seat margin in the Senate. You can't do that.
Get out. What are we talking about? Now, that phone call is the kind of phone call that Richard Nixon probably would have been tempted to make or made. It's the kind of phone call that I don't think has quite happened in the modern era, although there's some stuff that happened to George W. Bush that was fairly shady. But it is something that Donald Trump explicitly has tried to do via tweet, explicitly believes should be his ability, is the position of Project 2025 on how the Department of Justice should run, and is also the controlling opinion of the Supreme Court in the 6-3 Trump v. U.S. decision by John Roberts, who explicitly went out of his way in the decision, he didn't have to basically say that phone call I just conjured, that's fine,
so
constitutionally.
Under the Supreme Court ruling, had Joe Biden yesterday called up the U.S. Justice Department and said, drop that case. He is a Democrat, and you are not prosecuting a Democrat, not when I'm running for re-election. The Justice Department would not have been within its rights to blow the whistle on it. They would have had to have done it, and there would have been no action. It would have been immune from any sort of action for having done it.
Yes, and that is, again, the part that section of the ruling by Trump v. U.S. So it's not just that there's a different reaction to kind of the moral turpitude and stench that comes from someone being convicted of a thing that's bad to do. It's actually speaks to the very question of what the rule of law is, what it will be, and in whose hands it will reside.
Yeah.
That the Biden administration is so accused of weaponizing the Department of Justice, which has now very craftily managed to convict the president's son and one of the incumbent Democratic senators in an amazing bit of...
I was told the Justice Department was going easy on Democrats and only prosecuting Republicans.
By the way, to make it even worse, according to John Roberts, if then Joe Biden had then taken a bribe from Senator Menendez for getting him out of trouble...
A gold bar.
A gold bar, taking a gold bar from him, according to John Roberts, the phone call that you just described could not be used as evidence because it was an official act.
Yes.
So the phone call to the Attorney General couldn't be used as evidence in a bribery case against Joe Biden. So the scheme is perfect because it involves everyone, including the Supreme Court.
Let me say one more thing, because I think it matters, and it's going to matter a lot depending on how this election comes out. There's a universe in which you can imagine a person saying after the Trump v. U.S. decision, oh, wait, I can do this now?
Right.
Look, hey, it's the Supreme Court, highest law, Roberts. Hey, call your lawyers. Wait a second, Roberts, can I just call over the park? Can we drop this Menendez thing? There's a world in which the character of the person in that office, the character of the people around him, the character of the people of the Department of Justice, all of those different people that would have to go along with that could say, hey, look, the Supreme Court just found this. This is perfectly constitutional. What are we doing?
Why wouldn't we use this power?
Right. Or use it to save your son.
Yeah.
In some way, right? The pardon power. The fact of the matter is the character of the people in the White House, the people around the White House, their adherence to these institutional norms is such that that's never crossed any of their minds for a second, I guarantee you. That is the thing keeping us still in Earth One.
The character of the people.
The character, the professional norms, the habituation, all the institutional holdings
are not protecting us. And I think that's a frightening thought, in that the institutions have shown not that they can't protect us, but that they won't. And so we're literally, the only reason that we didn't have a successful insurrection was the individual character of Republican officials around this country.
Including the guy that just got replaced.
Including, exactly, the guy who hung. The hang Mike Pence, the guy who's absent by dint of the fact that his former boss tried to get him hung or allow him to be killed, but for the character of individual conservative Republicans who testified to a man and woman that they wanted Donald Trump to be reelected, and despite that, did not break the law on his behalf. So we're living in a world in which everyone who says the institutions will protect us, you can't believe that anymore.
Wait a minute,
the institutions will protect us with the right people.
Absolutely.
I haven't heard that said in years now.
That's still the line about how we're all going to survive Trump's second term.
That's what people
all the time. I hear it from business guys.
Idiots.
Just recently, a bank CEO said to me, the institutions. No, that's what they ride on. Yes, they'll hold up.
Well, and the other part of that, I think, is important because it's relevant to what you're just talking about, J.D. Vance and his abortion politics is, look, one of the things that I think has helped Donald Trump in the past and will help him here is that American politics is sclerotic. It is very hard to get legislation passed. They weren't very successful with the first time around. The whole purpose for Project 2025, the whole purpose for someone like J.D. Vance, the whole purpose for the sort of vision of the executive they have is there's lots of stuff they can do on day one that they don't have to pass legislation for.
Yeah.
And so things like whether HHS protects the privacy records of women who are pregnant or seeking abortions is something they can do on day one. Whether the FDA has approved mifepristone, whether the Department of Justice is enforcing the Victorian-era Comstock Act. Those don't have to go through the House. They don't have to hurdle over filibuster in the Senate. They can actually start happening immediately, and it's really important to understand they're focused on that because they understand how sclerotic government can be. and for voters to understand that it's not some remote yada, 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 we're going to do this thing and let's see if we can get 61
but Chris,
votes.
Voters this time around know exactly who Donald Trump is, right? In 2016, you saw a number of, big business people in New York, people who had done business with him forever, warn the American people, this is what Donald Trump could do. This is who he is. A lot of people said, no, no, no. This time around, we know exactly what he's going to do, and it's stunning that so many Republicans are down with it.
But, well, I mean, I think the thing, what you're seeing is the thing that they understand is that the things that they want, the vast majority of people don't. And there's a deep frustration that you see in that room. You look in that hall and you see people, they started out booing Nikki Haley, but then they started cheering her when she took the knee because they understand that they are a minority. They understand that ideologically they're a minority. It's even hard for them to win the popular vote in presidential elections. They almost never can. And their deep frustration with not being able to persuade.
1988.
Since 88.
It's worth noting.
Absolutely. And so their anger and rage at not being able to move the culture toward national abortion bans, toward making contraception illegal, toward the awful things they want to do in terms of, legalizing. Well, we won't even go into all of their extremes, but they understand that these are minority positions. They understand they can't get them through elections, and so they don't care anymore. They're like, we'd rather have a dictator so they can get it anyway.
That's what explains the hostility against elections.
They're angry against elections.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we're seeing now around the whole idea of certifying the elections, which is something that happens, obviously that's what Mike Pence was trying to go ahead with on January 6th. But there's the whole different stratified levels of government that all have to do certifications before we get to the electoral votes coming to Washington on January 6th. And with what's happening right now, if you look at, Washoe County in Nevada, and you look at Fulton County in Georgia, and you look at all these places where this is starting to happen, the Republicans are saying now, election officials at the lowest level, just at regular counties, in any state in the country, conditions already exist, we're telling you, that will allow you and justify and serve as a pretext for you saying no to certification.
Correct.
And so you're already seeing Republican officials realizing that to certify an election, even when it's a not controversial election, even when Republicans win big, even when they themselves are the official who has won in the election, they're not certifying. Because certifying an election suggests that any election is legitimate. Yeah. And the point of Republican politics right now is not to contest an election. It's to contest the idea that elections are how we decide things in America.
That they decide.
Which you need to do if your policy positions are very unpopular.
That's right. And they don't want to have to pass their ideas through elections. They simply want their ideas. And I'll tell you one very quick thing that is related to some of the other news that we've been talking about today. The Rules Committee of the Democratic Party sent out this note to its membership today talking about why they're doing this virtual vote. It is not a scheme to rig the primary for the guy who already won the primary, Joe Biden. They lay out the fact that they are concerned that Republican election officials in states, even states like Ohio, that ostensibly change their rules to allow the later certifications to say you can be on the ballot even if you passed our original deadline in June. Yep. Ohio did that. But their concern is they signed that law, but that there are still threats out there from Republican officials who are saying, yeah, but we may still not allow Joe Biden on our ballot. And there are multiple states in which they're concerned about litigation. So to avoid litigation, that is part of the reason they want to do it virtually, because they don't trust at this point Republican officials in states where they have control over to even do the basic thing of putting Joe Biden's name on the ballot. So that's the level of distrust that you're seeing even on the Democratic side in Republicans' belief in the whole idea that there should be elections, the whole idea that Democrats have any right to ever be in power.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just want to note that when it was coined, Everyday American rubbed me the wrong way, but it seems to have taken off. Just want to note that Everyday American, which is the title for the individual speaking right now, has seemed to work. I didn't think that had legs, but it has. The second thing I want to say is just on this point about the sort of state of democracy is that you said this thing that struck me, Joy, on the night of the debate, where there is always in these moments this tension between the abnormal and the normal. And so it's a debate. There's these two guys. It's like one of the guys tried to end the whole American experiment last time. It was like the worst transfer of power since the cannons fired in Fort Sumter after Lincoln was elected. it's the same thing with this convention, where if you were talking to someone who was visiting from another country, who knew nothing about American politics, you're sitting there on the couch, you're describing, I was like, oh, who are these guys? Okay, well, this is the incumbent, this is the other guy. Oh, what's his deal? Well, he's actually president before. He kind of tried a violent coup. It's like, oh, really? So he's running again.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't didn't sort of got it. These judges that he appointed sort of said he didn't have to do anything about it. So now he's going to try. You know, you would, if you were coming into this from Mars or from another country, you'd think, this seems like a bad kind of setup.
I feel that sort of every day. I wake up in Mars every day. That's exactly
like a dangerous situation. Like, oh, really? So he tried that, didn't work. Now he's back. He's running this time. And that, again, you know, that is where we are. The Supreme Court issued its opinion on the 14th Amendment. It issued its opinion on official act immunity. It has done what it has done. This is the field upon which the Democratic contest is engaged, but it is still bizarre.
But we need to remember, one of the reasons so many groups are okay with this is because they're special interest groups, and they're going to get limited access to abortion, or the business community that hears Donald Trump float ideas like that corporate tax rate. I'm not just going to extend those corporate taxes. I'm going to get it down to 15, which no CEO in the history of ever has ever even dared to ask. So it's why they're willing to say, oh, democracy is going to hold. Oh, the institutions are A-OK, because a 15% tax rate is a super win for them.
So, Steph, what do you make of the headlines that we saw in the wake of Vance's being chosen, that he's somehow some sort of concern to the business community, that he's actually a real populist, and so the big business has a reason to worry about venture capitalist Peter Thiel, pocket pal J.D. Vance being on the ticket? You can tell from the way I'm presenting this to you that I thought those headlines were laugh out loud hilarious. But what are you hearing from business people?
Well, it is true, right? J.D. Vance has expressed in the past way more populist views, right? He likes Lena Khan, the FTC chair. And when you talk to lots of people in the Fortune 500 universe, they do not like her. They view her as completely anti-mergers and acquisitions. They hate her guts. J.D. Vance likes her. He actually worked with Elizabeth Warren on some legislation to have clawbacks of bank executives' bonuses. Like, you would think, wow, but let's be honest. You got Elon Musk backing him. Right. You got Peter Thiel backing him. And one thing that Donald Trump loves beyond his MAGA base is when the rich business community that shunned him forever say, you're my boy. Totally. And J.D. Vance is going to like it just the same. So this notion that, like, oh, maybe J.D. Vance is going to be a little bit different on business and Trump won't pay attention. He absolutely will. Remember, one of his favorite things to do is walk into Mar-a-Lago and say, I'm going to cut your taxes. And have you looked at the stock market? Well, you know who could say to people, look at the stock market? Joe Biden. Broke a record today.
Yeah, it reminds me of 2017, 2016, when people were saying that that Donald Trump was going to be great on gay rights. Remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
One of the reasons Peter Thiel gave a speech at the RNC.
God bless him. It's still ringing in my ears right now. I thought it was tinnitus, but it's Peter Thiel. Still ahead, the extraordinary takeover of the Republican Party by Donald Trump and his family on full and very pointed display tonight with the apex speech that we are expecting in Milwaukee. We've got that in our coverage continuing right after this quick break. Stay with us.
I know that a lot of you want to meet my little buddy. So if Baby Doll could come on out here, how could the message possibly be any more simpler than just that?
Some days you can feel like a spectator in your own life with chronic migraine. 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more. Botox prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine before they start. And treatment is 4 times a year. In a survey, 91% of users wish they'd started sooner. So why wait? Talk to your doctor.
Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Chronic migraine may still keep you from being there. Why wait? Talk to your doctor about Botox and get in the picture. Learn how AbbVie can help you save.
Can you do this? As early as your 40s, you may lose muscle and strength. Protein supports muscle health. Ensure Max Protein has a 30-gram blend of high-quality protein to feed muscles for up to 7 hours. So take the challenge. Ensure nutrition for strength and energy.
Cologuard. 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 Screen for colon cancer. At home, like you want. You the man. Cologuard is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk. False positive and negative results may occur. Ask your provider for Cologuard. I did it my way.
At the UPS store, we offer a lot because running a small business takes a lot. That's why we're the Think Outside the Box store, the Help Protect Your Privacy store, and the Give Your Business a Real Street Address store. So while you're juggling everything else like the boss you are, we're the extra pair of hands store. You can count on us as the shredding and mailboxing, anything and everything to keep you going store. Come into the UPS store today and be unstoppable.
Missing out on the things you love because of asthma? Get back to better breathing with Fasenra, an add-on treatment for eosinophilic asthma that is taken once every 8 weeks. Fasenra is not for sudden breathing problems or other eosinophilic conditions. Allergic reactions may occur. Don't stop your asthma treatments without talking with your doctor. Tell your doctor if your asthma worsens. Headache and sore throat may occur. Tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection. Step back out there with Fasenra. Ask your doctor if it's right for you.
We just signed the lease on our third shop. My assistant went to CustomInk.com to get new uniforms with all the locations. He found great products, uploaded new art, and had boxes sent to all the shops. Custom Ink makes it so easy. Get started today at CustomInk.com.
These bills are crazy.
She has no idea she's sitting on a gold mine.
Well, she doesn't know that if she owns a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, she can sell all or part of it to Coventry for cash, even a term policy.
Even a term policy?
Even a term policy!
Find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. Call Coventry Direct today at 800-738-1300 or visit CoventryDirect.com.
Dangerous ladders, gutter muck? Ugh, no wonder you hate cleaning your gutters. Good thing there's Leaf Filter. Our patented filter technology keeps leaves and debris out of your gutters forever. Guaranteed. Call 833-LEAF Filter to get started and get the permanent gutter solution that ends clogs for good.
They took the time to answer all of our questions. They really put us at ease.
End clogged gutters for good. Call 833-LEAF Filter or visit leaffilter.com today.
Custom Ink helps us motivate our students with custom gear. We love how Custom Ink takes care of everything we need so we can focus on the kids.
Custom Ink has hundreds of products to help you feel connected. Upload your logo or start your design today at customink.com.
One of the things I like about what I get to do is that each day is pretty unique. I might find out that there's not a lot of new numbers in the world today, and so today's going to be a day I'm going to spend researching. The only way to really be prepared is to get it all in my brain ahead of time.
Go beyond the headlines with the new MSNBC app. Read, watch, listen to breaking news and analysis anytime, anywhere. Go beyond the what to understand the why. Download the new MSNBC app now.
Welcome back to our special coverage of night 2 of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where we have had a whole bunch of Republican Senate candidates speak. We have had a speech from Nikki Haley making news with her unequivocal endorsement of Donald Trump, despite her earlier portrayals of him as a threat to the future of the Republic. We also heard from Ron DeSantis. Political conventions are often the focus of protesters who oppose the hosting party. This year's RNC in Milwaukee is no exception. About 3,000 people gathered in a park near Milwaukee's Fiserv Arena yesterday. That's a collection of more than 100 different activist groups protesting the Republicans and their policy agenda. Today, another large group, several thousand people, marched through downtown Milwaukee protesting the RNC. And while the Biden campaign itself pressed pause on their campaign ads and events after this weekend's shooting at the Trump rally in Pennsylvania, the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, the party, they have nevertheless been papering the city of Milwaukee with billboards, 16 different billboards like these ones, highlighting some of the most unpopular policies of the Trump-Vance ticket. Another 8 somewhat cheekier ones with the dark Brandon laser eyes look on some of them, highlighting President Biden's policies and accomplishments. Social Security cuts, try me. Milwaukee might be home to Trump's nominating convention this year, but remember that Joe Biden won Milwaukee County last time around in 2020 by 40 points. Milwaukee is a blue city in a purple state. In Wisconsin, Democrats and Republicans have been fighting as hard as you can possibly imagine for more than the past decade. Some of the most well-joined, well-fought, highest-stakes political partisan combat in the nation has been the state of Wisconsin in the Trump era and beyond. And the man at the helm of it on the Democratic side is Ben Wickler, chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party. Mr. Wickler, thanks very much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Great to be with you, Rachel, in a wild moment in the history of our democracy and certainly in the state of Wisconsin.
Absolutely. I mean, things are always a little bit wild in politics in Wisconsin. At least they have been since you and I both at one point in our past lives worked at Air America Radio back in the day and knew each other back in the George W. Bush era. I feel like since then, Wisconsin has been ground zero in many ways for the hardest fought political combat in the country. Given all of the things that you and Wisconsin Democrats are joined in right now, what does it mean to you to have the Republicans during their convention in Milwaukee?
Well, there's one reason why Donald Trump, who calls Milwaukee a horrible city behind closed doors, although it's a great city on a great lake, there's one reason why the Republicans put their convention here. Because as Trump said when he was most recently in Wisconsin, we win Wisconsin, we win this whole thing. This is the state that tips presidential elections one way or the other. It's the land of the nail biter. 4 of the last 6 presidential elections here have come down to less than 1 percentage point margins. That's 2 or 3 votes per ward across the state.
Wow.
And that means that everything can tip the entire state, which then tips the entire country. So they're here to try to bamboozle Wisconsin, and Democrats across our state are mobilized, knocking on doors, organizing to make sure that the truth gets out about the Project 2025 agenda and what it is that Trump and Vance want to do to Wisconsinites and the freedoms that they want to rip away if they get back into the Oval Office.
And Ben, how would you characterize basically the state of the fight right now in Wisconsin? How are Democrats doing? How have you been doing in recent elections? How are things looking for you in terms of things like organizing and voter registration? How do the polls look between the presidential candidates right now in Wisconsin?
Wisconsin, true to form, is almost perfectly evenly split. There are outlier polls that go in either direction. If you look at the aggregators, it's within a couple of points here at the moment. And I think the thing that's so striking is that while the Republican National Convention is here, and while Trump has been visiting our state every so often this year, the Republicans have not built a serious grassroots organizing infrastructure. They've been engaged in a kind of long-term civil war within their party and an effort to try to dismantle democracy as their core strategy. There's a recall effort against Robin Vos, the Speaker of the State Assembly, because he's resisted calls to impeach the nonpartisan elections administrator in our state. That was after he tried to impeach our state Supreme Court justice, and a grassroots uprising kind of pushed back so hard that Republicans realized it would be an electoral disaster for them. The battle over democracy here is very real, and the battle over reproductive freedom is not academic. No one could get an abortion in the state of Wisconsin for 451 days after the Dobbs decision. So on both those fronts, you see a Democratic Party that is organized, that is mobilizing all over the state, and you see a Republican Party trying to suppress the vote, dismantle democracy, take away freedoms, and evade consequences. That, at every level of the ballot, from state legislature, where we have fair maps now, finally, after our state Supreme Court threw out the gerrymander, all the way to the presidential, means that this race is a toss-up. And Democrats have to really work to find the votes in every corner of the state. But if they do that, I do think that we can win.
Ben, it's Alex Wagner. Thanks for joining us tonight. What do you make of the choice of J.D. Vance as Trump's running mate? A lot of outside observers say that's the Trump campaign doubling down on white working class voters, trying to reach a sizable portion of the electorate in the Midwest, specifically Michigan, Wisconsin, and to some degree Pennsylvania. Do you think it moves voters in your state?
I think that the choice of J.D. Vance is Trump doubling down on people who are willing to sacrifice any principle in order to gain power, other than their, for whatever reason, desire to rip away reproductive freedom. It's a way of appealing to tech billionaires, but it's not a way of appealing to actual voters. J.D. Vance did terribly relative to other Republicans in the state of Ohio when he was up for re-election, his one and only time. And I think when Wisconsin voters look at this guy who Trump wants to put a heartbeat away from the presidency, they see someone who wants a 100% abortion ban with no exceptions for rape or incest. And they see someone who's said that he would not have certified the election if he had been vice president instead of Mike Pence. And that is what Trump is promising. I think it's an act of wild overconfidence from Trump to really let his darkest impulses run wild. But it's not something that will bring any voters into the Republican column. I think it reinforces the fact that Trump is a threat to the very idea of democracy and freedom in America.
Yeah, a lot of people are calling this the mega MAGA ticket, which I think is fair enough. There was a moment in the 1950s when people on the very, very far sort of MAGA-style right part of the Republican Party wanted a Wisconsin senator on the ticket. They wanted Joe McCarthy and also General MacArthur, and it was going to be the Mac and Mac ticket. It was going to be the sort of mega MAGA ticket of its day. They never got that dream, but Trump and Vance in 2024, I guess they just had to wait 70 years for it to get here. Ben Wickler, the chairman of the Wisconsin Democratic Party, thank you so much for being here, Ben. Always interesting and good to talk to you.
Thanks so much for having me on.
All right, let's go to the floor of the Republican National Convention, where NBC News correspondent Jacob Soboroff, as always, is making friends and winning people over to his winning charms. Jacob, what are you seeing?
Hi, Rachel. So we just heard from Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Ben Carson's coming up next. But if I could, I want to go back to Nikki Haley, as you've been talking about the news of the evening for just a little bit. Nikki Haley certainly, after being quite opposed, quite vocal, quite specifically against former President Donald Trump. I think she called him unhinged at one point. She showed up for him tonight. The South Carolina delegation, where I am tonight, has showed up. Come with me for 1 second. Has showed up for former President Donald Trump. And in fact, you know, I heard you guys talking about there was some booing originally when Nikki Haley came out onto the stage. There was not booing. You were telling me, hi, sorry to interrupt you. I met this nice lady earlier. You were saying there was no booing back here when Nikki Haley came onto the stage.
Absolutely no booing, 100%. We were yelling, Nikki, 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 and applauding.
Okay, so they were very happy. So if they were happy to see Nikki Haley, if Nikki Haley was happy to see President Trump, one thing I do want to point out is I don't know if it was returned back the other direction. If you look at where you were saying the seats are not great here, right?
Well, I'd like to be a little bit closer. So to say it would be nice to be a little bit closer.
So check this out, Rachel, South Carolina delegation. We're in pretty much the last row.
Oh, yeah.
As far away as you could possibly be from the stage. Come with me. I want to give you take you for a little walk. We're here alongside the District of Columbia.
Alaska and D.C. Oh.
Yeah, Alaska. Here's Utah. No fans of Donald Trump back in the day. Here's Maryland. The Northern Mariana Islands are here as well. Hi, thank you very much for accommodating us. Really appreciate that. You can't even see former President Trump from the South Carolina section. If you take a look from here, you had to come up to the Northern Mariana Islands to get a good view of former President Trump. There he is, sitting next to Vice Presidential nominee J.D. Vance. And it was kind of strange, Rachel, actually, to watch former President Trump when Nikki...
He's okay.
No, are you... I'm okay, right?
You're great.
Okay, I'm great, he said. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Okay, I love that guy.
I'm great.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, those do seem like terrible seats. Jacob, thank you for sorting that out for us. I also want you to have better seats from where you are, which means you have to leave South Carolina and go to the Northern Marianas Islands in order to get it. Just seems weird.
We're on our way, Rachel. I'm on my way to Guam. See you later.
All right. Very good. Jacob Soboroff joining us. That's kind of amazing. I mean, the other thing,
Trump won the South Carolina primary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that is, I mean, they really stuffed them back there in the supply closet, man. I mean, maybe it's just coincidence, but I will say, I didn't want to ask Jacob this because I didn't want to make him answer this in front of all those people who he now has to spend the whole evening with. I don't want to put him in a weird spot. But it does also look like the whole place is kind of empty.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe tonight's the night.
Yeah, Tuesday nights. I feel like they really do fill up over the course of the week.
Yes.
Although the other weird thing is traditionally, right, the whole way it worked was like you don't see the bride before the wedding. Like the nominee doesn't come until the last night, and it sort of fills up and it builds up. Like Trump wants to be there all the time because he wants the center of attention on him. But also, like, one of the things about being the nominee is that you don't have to sit through a bunch of speeches. It's very funny to me to keep cutting to him because it's like not the most riveting thing in the world. He's given himself the job of just like sitting there and listening.
Did he look like he fell asleep the other day?
It was praying. It was praying. That was, I think, misinformation, not disinformation. I think people were mistaken. He did look sleepy because of the way he was slumped over, but it was the moment that the prayer was happening.
But I'm sure
in the moment I noted it. I'm telling you, I saw it. Yes.
I do believe he relishes having Nikki Haley, whether he is not expressing it facially. Having Nikki Haley begin by saying, "I fully endorse Donald Trump." It's a moment he was going to not miss. It's more like an Indian wedding, having been to many Indian weddings in my experience, where the bride and groom are out for several days of the wedding,
it's more like
rather than just at the end.
Lawrence, I wanted to ask you about what you were saying earlier at the top of the night, top of our coverage here, about what have been relatively low television ratings for these proceedings. You had suggested that maybe Trump's there a lot more than you would expect to see the nominee because he's trying to goose those ratings a little bit. He thinks being there himself might.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure whether he would have gone without the assassination attempt, I don't know. But I'm sure when he decided to go, one of the things in his mind was, well, this will certainly help Monday's ratings.
Oh.
That's actually bad news if it did, because it means if he didn't show up, they would have gotten less than 19 million people. And so these ratings are pretty low for a first night of a convention. We have last night's ratings. And this is the forum where you're supposed to try to reach out to some voters you don't already have, which previous Trump conventions have not been good at. And so this is, people watching it here are people who are very interested in this. And it's entirely possible that of the people watching it here, they don't all intend to vote for Donald Trump. Maybe none of them intend to vote for Donald Trump. So remember, in the 19 million, there's a solid 5 million watching who are hoping this ticket fails, minimum of 5 million watching. So there's no more than 13 million people or so who are cheering for this ticket, who are actually watching this thing tonight. So this is, in terms of compared to past televised conventions, of the 1960s and 70s, this is a very, very small event.
It's a small event. It's in a swing state. Very interesting news or observation tonight from Ben Wickler, speaking with him, the Democratic Party chairman in Wisconsin, that even though we think of Wisconsin as such a partisan battleground, such hard-fought contested territory, he says what he's observing, and I don't think this is spin from Ben Wickler, because I don't think that's the way he generally talks, but he says what he's observing is that the Republicans haven't put together a ground operation in Wisconsin for this Republican ticket, that maybe they have around other Republican priorities in the state, some of the other battles they've had. But in terms of Wisconsin trying to get it together on the Republican side to cast votes for Trump and now Vance, he says it's not there.
Well, I've been talking to Ben fairly regularly on our program, and one of the reasons possibly for that is that they're kind of bad at the organizational end of it, especially if you're changing heads of the party the way they do and the way they recklessly do. But remember, so much of the Trump money was going to legal fees, while the Biden-Harris and the Democratic campaign money was going to building Ben's infrastructure in Wisconsin and other states like that. And so Ben's had a big head start in Wisconsin on all of that.
They're also a very talented, well-led
he's
party.
The best. He's just the best.
As we await the headliner speech by Donald Trump's daughter-in-law, because she now is running the RNC, which itself is crazy. Another past Republican chief will give us his view of the new Trump family business. Michael Steele is going to join us coming up. Stay with us.
This summer, there's no better time to experience the latest Mercedes-Benz has to offer. Make your dreams come true. But the choice won't be easy. With exceptional offers on the E-Class sedan, C-Class sedan, CLE Cabriolet, and CLE Coupe. Hurry, these dream offers won't last forever. Come in now through September 3rd.
Right now, pet dander, skin cells, and dirt are settling deep into your carpet fibers. Stanley Steamer removes the dirt you see and the dirt you don't. Your carpets aren't clean until they're Stanley Steamer clean.
Stanley Steamer gets your home cleaner. Febreze.
Have you tried these new Febreze car vent clips? The new intensity dial gives you total control. I could turn it up. That smells good. Or turn it down. Nice and light. Enjoy 40 days of freshness your way.
After careful review of medical guidance and research on pain relief, my recommendation is simple. Every home should have Salon Paws. Powerful, yet non-addictive. Targeted and long-lasting. I recommend Salon Paws. It's good medicine.
In the world's poorest places, children with cleft conditions live in darkness and shame. They're shunned, outcast, living in pain. You can reach out and change the life of a suffering child right now. A surgery that takes as little as 45 minutes. And your act of love can change a child's life forever. Please call, scan, or go online to give a new smile. Thousands of children are waiting.
You know, Priceline helps families save up to 60% on family-friendly hotels.
So many great trips, we might just leave here with another vacation baby.
Gross.
Oh, take it easy, Paris. And you too, Fort Lauderdale.
Lisa was in Toledo.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Compared with other chews, one Brevecto chew protects from fleas and ticks for 12 weeks, nearly 3 times longer.
Use with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurological disorders. Protection that lasts longer? Bravo, Brevecto. Bravo.
With Car Gurus, you can buy or sell your car, in person or online. If only you could do things your way all the time. Wouldn't that be nice? Get it with Gurus.
You got this, buddy. You got it. During an asthma attack, every second feels like an eternity. Primatene Mist works fast. It's clinically shown to open airways quickly. Get the #1 FDA-approved over-the-counter asthma inhaler, Primatene Mist. Breathe easy again.
Okay, everyone. Our mission is to provide complete balanced nutrition for strength and energy.
Ensure with 27 vitamins and minerals, nutrients for immune health, and Ensure Complete with 30 grams of protein.
Your gut is like a garden, growing both good bacteria and bad. That balance is key to a healthy gut environment. Benefiber's plant-based prebiotic fiber gently nourishes the good bacteria, working with your body to help your gut and you flourish effortlessly every day. Grow what feels good with Benefiber.
Liberty Mutual customized my car insurance, and I saved hundreds. With all the money I saved, thought I'd buy stilts. Hi, honey. Hey. Oh, look. No line at the hot dog stand.
Yes.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
When was the last time you checked in on your heart? With Cardio Mobile, the personal EKG device, you can check it from home using your smartphone.
I use Cardio Mobile every day, sometimes twice a day.
Every morning I check, make sure I'm in good shape, and it makes me feel pretty good about my heart condition.
It's a complete game changer. I mean, you might as well be in a doctor's office.
There's a way that I can communicate with patients now in a way I never could before. They have their own EKG in their pocket.
With Cardio Mobile, you can take a medical-grade EKG in just 30 seconds from anywhere. Cardio Mobile is proven to detect atrial fibrillation, one of the leading causes of stroke. And it's the only personal EKG that's FDA cleared to detect normal heart rhythm, bradycardia, and tachycardia.
Having Cardio Mobile, it's a peace of mind for me.
Because you can't see your cardiologist every day, but you can see your Cardio Mobile every day.
Get Cardio Mobile today for just $79. And check out our Prime Day deals at cardia.com or Amazon. Don't wait. These offers
for political parties to pitch the whole nation about how their party, their candidate, their platform is the best suited to unite the whole country in the years ahead. It is a showcase of unity. At least that is what they are supposed to be.
Welcome everybody who's watching at home, and welcome everybody in this great arena tonight. We love you all. Actually, wait a minute. I don't mean that. I don't welcome everybody in this meeting, in this room. The guys up in the fake news, frankly, all right, frankly, you guys up there in the fake news have worn out your welcome, right?
Madam
Madam Chairman, the Commonwealth of Kentucky proudly cast 46 votes for the next president, Donald J. Trump.
What night are you speaking? Are you speaking tonight? If you took that stage, you would get booed off of it. You would get booed off the stage.
That was Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz at the end there, sort of frothing at the proverbial mouth a little bit, yelling at former Republican Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy, the guy from his own party that he helped drive out of Congress. So, you know, unity, smiles, everyone, smiles. There was at least one guy in the crowd today who did get into the spirit of solidarity. Did you guys see this today? Oh, my God. I thought this was a prank, but apparently this is just a thing. Honestly, I can't believe there's only one so far. Joining us now is our beloved colleague, Michael Steele, the former chairman of the Republican National Committee, now one of the hosts of MSNBC's The Weekend. Mr. Steele, thank you so much for being here.
Good to be with you, Rachel, and the crew. How's it going?
You know, we're nuts at this point. We're so punchy. We have no idea what we might say at any one moment. We don't know if it's commercial time, if it's TV time, if it's okay to swear time. We're a mess.
Well, I was going to say the last person you need on with you right now is me, because I'm not going to help your cause, baby girl. It ain't going to happen.
All right. So, Michael, I want to talk to you right now because we are awaiting a speech, not from the chair of the Republican Party, because he is not giving a big, long, televised speech in primetime in the 10 o'clock hour on the East Coast. No, weirdly, this year it is the #2 official in the Republican Party who has been given the honor of the big, culminating primetime speech. And why is that? Because her name is Laura Trump, and she is married to Donald Trump's son, the blonde one. She's married to Eric. She's married to Eric Trump. Is this weird, A, that the candidate has put his family in charge of the Republican Party, and B, that they're putting the second-ranked official on TV for the big deal speech?
Yeah, it is. It is very, very weird. Number one, that this has now become a family enterprise for the Republican National Committee. Number two, that you would have the co-chair taking a primetime slot. Typically, party officials will speak at the beginning of the day, in the 5 o'clock hour, long before prime time. I mean, their roles are generally administrative. They don't have a clarion call that they're going to send out to the gathered, because they're organizing this. They're managing this. They're not there to give speeches as the chair and co-chair in that regard. But this is different because it is the daughter-in-law of the former president who is there for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to make sure that Trump Enterprises is fully operationalized inside the RNC, which is now no longer the RNC. It is either the MAGA party or the Trump Republican Party, but it is not the Republican Party of Lincoln, Reagan, and Eisenhower. So her imprimatur here means a lot for the direction the party is going to go structurally and organizationally.
Michael, in terms of the way the Republican National Committee is supposed to run, obviously, whenever you've got a president, the president is the de facto head of the party, and the president gets his or her own person in at the National Committee, and there's a lot of power that comes directly from the presidency down into the party. In this case, we've got a somewhat unusual situation because we've got a former incumbent, we've got an ex-president running to try to become president again, and so you would definitely expect for him to be exerting power in the party.
Sure.
But by making it his family and by making it so personal and so much a part of, as you say, Trump Enterprises, is there a risk that the party is run to Trump's benefit in a way that may hurt the other goals of the party, which include not just things like Senate seats and governorships, but even, state legislatures and all the other races that the RNC has to try to win for the party's best interests?
Well, Rachel, you just put your finger on the heart and soul of what a party's there to do. What my job as national chairman was twofold. I had two responsibilities at the end of the day: raise money, win elections. That's it. And with the money, you build the infrastructure to win those elections. With the money, you create the messaging to win those elections. With the money, you then are able to level up your candidates, particularly in some battleground areas and in some weaker districts where you could probably cobble together some resources to move the needle that would help not just further downward ballot candidates, but even sometimes, and this is something that's little understood in politics, everything doesn't go top down. There are a number of races in which a candidate running for Congress or a candidate running for the state legislature helps a statewide candidate, even a presidential statewide candidate, by drawing out more voters who otherwise may not be excited. So that infrastructure is very, very, very important. And when the RNC was taken over, I would say largely condemned to its fate by the takeover by the Trump organization, they fired 60 plus people who had already built that infrastructure. You just can't replace those people who have the battle plan to run those operations on the ground, number one, and you certainly can't do it when you either disrupt those operations or those operations are incomplete, because you don't then know how they were going to be filled out and how they were going to be laid out to their completion. So the reality then becomes you set yourself behind, and you damn sure don't do it 6 months before a general election in a hotly contested presidential election. So that infrastructure that your prior guest from Wisconsin was talking about, that he noticed, that I guess it was the Democratic chairman, that the party in Wisconsin has not been able to crystallize and organize, they're going to pay a price for that downstream. You just don't stand that up, Rachel, in 30 days. That's a network that's built out over a year plus time. And the fact that they cut that cord in 6 months before the election by firing people tells you where the emphasis is. The emphasis is in one place, top line, presidential. We win that. The thinking is everything else falls in place. That's not how this election is going to play out. Yeah, and you combine that with the chaos that we have seen in state parties, literal chaos in some cases, physical fighting that happens at state party levels as people are fighting over these really sort of extreme MAGA figures that have been elevated through this process. I think it is a real black box figure for what's going to happen over these next few months. Yeah. Can I just real quick for you? You guys are having a little bit of fun with our friend up in the balcony talking to the states who are in the outlying sections of the arena. Typically what happens with that, states that wind up so far removed from the floor, a lot of times that's based on how the presidential candidate / nominee did in those states. So beyond the host state and for the president and the vice president, you then have a degree of support, if you will. So when you get to places like Maryland, where Donald Trump lost the state by
since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents. This iPad Pro sold for less than $34. And this Nintendo Switch sold for less than $20. Go to DealDash.com and see how much you can save.
These bills are crazy.
She has no idea she's sitting on a gold mine.
Well, she doesn't know that if she owns a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, she can sell all or part of it to Coventry for cash, even a term policy.
Even a term policy?
Even a term policy!
Find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. Call Coventry Direct today at 800-738-1300 or visit coventrydirect.com.
DealDash.com. Online auctions since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents. This iPad Pro sold for less than $34. And this Nintendo Switch sold for less than $20. Go to DealDash.com and see how much you can save.
Welcome back to our special coverage of night 2 of the Republican National Convention in the fantastic, lovely, great city on a great lake in Wisconsin. Downtown Milwaukee is where the Fiserv Arena is. And has it begun? We're looking for the keynote speech tonight from Laura Trump. Yes. She is not the chair of the Republican Party. She is the co-chair, but she's Eric Trump's wife, and so she's getting the speaking gig tonight. Let's dip in.
But if you've never been, let me tell you about them. Oh, some of you have been. Oh. Regardless of how the media have painted these rallies, you would be hard-pressed to find and to join a happier group of people coming together over their love for the greatest country on earth, the United States of America. I dare anyone trying to leave a Trump rally without leaving with some new friends. You always make friends out of Trump rally, right? Veterans, teachers, blue-collar workers, white-collar workers, active duty military, police officers, firefighters, small business owners, Latino supporters, Christian supporters, Jewish supporters, black supporters, white supporters, Asian supporters, gay supporters, Republicans, independents, and yes, even Democrats. At a Trump rally, you're not viewed as your profession, your religion, or the color of your skin. You're viewed as one thing: an American. Last Saturday was a jarring reminder that we, as Americans, must always remember: there is more that unites us than divides us.
Laura Trump is the daughter-in-law of Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump. She's number 2 in charge at the Republican National Convention. Our coverage of the RNC continues now with the 11th hour with Stephanie.
I can tell you that all Donald Trump wants to do and has ever wanted to do is make.
Good evening once again. I am Stephanie Rule, and we are continuing MSNBC's live coverage of Night 2 of the 2024 Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Tonight's theme: Make America Safe Again. The focus is on Donald Trump's plans for crime and immigration, which would include unprecedented mass deportations. RNC co-chair Laura Trump is speaking right now. Earlier speakers included former Trump primary rivals Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Ron DeSantis, as well as high-profile congressional Republicans like Speaker Mike Johnson, Elise Stefanik, and Ted Cruz.
Look at the border. It's the single biggest it's the single biggest threat Americans face.